welcome back. My name is Jason. This week I am in the BMW M4 Competition, thanks to BMW of Waterbury here in Waterbury, Connecticut. The G82 BMW M4. Let's go ahead and take a look. So what do I mean when I say the G82? That means it's a 2021 model year plus the second generation of the BMW M4. This thing has an S58 motor. It's a straight six with twin turbos, makes 479 pound-feet of torque and 503 horsepower. That is because we're in the competition version of this one. If you wanted to go down to the base model where you can actually option a 6-speed manual transmission, then you're dropping about 30 horsepower and about 70 pound-feet of torque. But here in this competition version, or in the competition X drive, or in the convertible, which is only competition X drive, we're looking at an 8-speed automatic transmission. That was a big move by BMW to go from a dual clutch transmission to an 8-speed. When you're talking about something like this that is like a track ready car here. But if you know anything about transmissions, you know that the ZF 8-speed is like the gold standard in traditional torque converter automatic transmissions. And I have no issues with this other than, I do prefer a manual generally. But as far as automatics go, no issues with this. We got the big old flappy paddles here, the giant paddle shifters on this one to make it nice and easy to change gears, and the transmission is snappy, it's quick, it's awesome. And if you know anything about BMW, they like to sandbag their numbers a little bit, so those power and torque numbers are probably actually a little bit lower than what they are in real life if you check out some of the dyno sheets. 0 to 60 times, we are looking at 4.1 in the base, 3.8 in the competition, this one here, the rear drive version, and 3.4 0 to 60 in the X drive. That's got to be from a dig, of course, because that thing is going to get you off the line nice and quick. And again, with BMW kind of sandbagging those numbers a little bit, I've seen as low as 2.8 second 0 to 60 recorded for that X drive. And with this being competition, we also have the big old wheels on this one. Instead of 18s in the front and 19s in the back like you get on the base, we've got 19s in the front and 20s in the back on summer performance tire, these Michelin PS4 summer tires. Plenty of grip and a nice long 112.5 inch wheelbase. That is way longer than I expected in a coupe. But that will help with your ride quality a lot. That'll make this a lot easier to daily drive, and it's going to help keep you a little more confident in those corners, keep you a little bit more balanced in those corners, or a lot more balanced in this case. It will kind of hurt your turning radius though. The turning radius on this does not feel particularly tight, but on a track, you're not, as long as it's not super technical and on your canyon roads, not generally gonna be a big deal. Now, I mentioned those 0 to 60 times. This thing has no problem getting out of its own way. It is properly quick, even though it does weigh quite a bit. BMW tends to have the weights up a little bit. This one is 3,700 pounds here in the rear drive version, 3,900 if you get that all-wheel drive system. I will tell you, when you hit that gas pedal, it does not feel heavy. This thing can move. And of course, it comes with all the performance goodies. You can set this thing up any way you would like in terms of the driving experience. You can make your steering heavier. You can make the transmission more aggressive when it's in automatic mode. You can make the suspension stiffer. You can adjust all of that stuff, and you can set your 2 custom M modes right here on the steering wheel. Easy to get to. This big beefy M steering wheel. I love the way BMW does their steering wheels, especially in their M cars. It's a massive beefy thing. I love it. Seating position is quite low. Visibility is a little bit rough out the sides just because it is so low down, but you can raise it up a little bit, and I'm also on the short side. But it's actually a lot better than a lot of sports cars, especially out the back. If we're calling this thing a sports car, somebody's gonna call me out. But whatever we're calling it, visibility is pretty solid, other than, you know, if you're short on the sides, it can be a little bit on the rough side. But like I said, out the back, great. Out the front, got a bit of a long nose, and again, being short, a little tough to see out the front, but not too bad here. We're not talking dangerous levels. We're not even talking Camaro levels or anything near that bad in terms of visibility. But seating position, other than that, is very comfortable. These seats are on the stiff side. These are the full merino leather. We got the leather everywhere. That means we've got leather surfaces all over the place instead of the regular extended merino leather. You can also option the carbon buckets if you want. If you want something really aggressive, really hold you in tight, and really give you that special feel. Those carbon buckets, I saw some in orange on one of the other cars they've got here at BMW of Waterbury, and those things look really nice. But if you're on the bigger side, they're not going to be super comfortable, but they are super cool, and they will hold you in if you're going to the track. Now, one other thing actually you can adjust in here that I didn't mention is the brake feel. Now, the throttle pedal and the brake feel that I have, the way it's set up right now, is perfect. The brakes are very responsive, and I feel very confident in the way that they're getting me stopped here. They don't feel like they're soft. They don't feel like there's any kind of lag or anything, but you can adjust that brake feel because it's brake by wire, which is, you know, kind of scary, but at the same time kind of nice that you can adjust it yourself. Okay, so back to the interior. This one also has the carbon fiber option. Do not get gloss black, get carbon fiber. This thing is awesome. I love this. $1,000 gives you all the inserts all around, and that in the wheel and everything, that is the way to go with the carbon fiber. We got the big old infotainment system. This is iDrive 7 version of this. You know, everything is laid out really well, from the information in the gauge cluster to all the information in the touchscreen here. It is touch, but also you can adjust it with the wheel over here if you'd like to do that instead, because the screen is a little bit far away. But either way, easy to use. Wired Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto, but once they switch to the iDrive 8 in 2024, some of that'll change and you'll get the curved screens and all of that. But this one is a 2021 actually. And since this has the executive package, it also has the big ol' heads-up display, which is done very well. Big numbers for your current speed, what the speed limit is, and the giant tack going across. Love that. If there's anything that I want to see more of when I'm in a performance car, it is that tack, especially since the way that this motor is tuned. Your torque is up at the high end, which means that I can pop it into sport mode, and I can wring it out. Gotta love that. Yeah, so the way they tuned this actually is really nice. So rather than having, you know, generally with a turbo, you got that straight up and across and down for your torque curve, and it usually hits early, and somewhere in like the 4,000 to 6,000 RPM, your peak torque just kind of drops off. Here it hits a little bit later, up closer to around 3,000 RPM. So you've got it available much higher in your rev range, with your red line being up around 7,200. And we've got the Harman Kardon system, and this one as standard. If you don't like the way the brakes feel, then you can go ahead and get the carbon ceramics for about $8,500. All right, so to summarize here, you get awesome features, awesome interior, really fun to drive. This thing is awesome. I would daily the crap out of this, and you could take it to the track. Love the heavy steering, love the brakes, love the throttle response, love the responsive transmission. There's really not a whole lot to hate on this. You know, if you want something that's a little bit lighter, a little bit more chuckable, that's the only area where this is going to be a little bit rough. It's not going to throw through corners quite as easily, just because it does have that extra weight to it. But if you just want to go fast, You want to go hard, but you also want something that you can daily drive. I love it. Thanks again to BMW of Waterbury for letting me take this thing out, because it's always a good time here. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.